We're live. It is Thursday. I'm Rich Lieberman, and I talk about the Bay Area Media Pulse, and I comment. Sometimes I scoop, sometimes I give various updates and so forth. And I had to update my initial report about this. I can't say it more unequivocally than this. KCBS, I'm like, I hate to beat a dead horse, the cliche, but my God, who is running the show? And it's like a carnival. Wait a minute, a carnival would be more respectable. There are checks and balances to a carnival. Who is minding the store at KCBS, the alleged all news radio station in the Bay Area? The only news station on radio in the Bay Area. I'm not counting KQED. I'm talking specifically AM, FM, FM simulcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am always for comprehensive coverage of a story, of a big story, when it generates warranted coverage, of course. KCBS has been on this story all day long, all morning. When it first broke that we had a earthquake up in extreme, very sparsely populated Northern California. We had two earthquakes, a 5.8, a 7.0, pretty strong earthquake. One of those earthquakes was centered in the ocean, where typically we get earthquakes. It's a part of the geography, the topography, all of that. I'm going to use scientific terms. And yes, there was a tsunami warning. But guess what? Nobody was killed. There was very little damage. Oh, of course, up in extreme Northern California, there was damage. Some products careened off shelves and onto the floor. That's normal. But by and large, we were spared. There was no tsunami. There was a tsunami warning. And then that warning, not that long after, was lifted. Who knows that? I would hope KCBS, because the various experts that they had on their own air were telling them that indeed the tsunami warning was just that, a warning. It was lifted. We're not being eaten up by the ocean. The coverage on KCBS is over the top, overreaching. It is laughable. All they've been talking about all morning. First off, let me explain a few things. The epicenter of one of these quakes, was up extreme, as I pointed out, Northern California, sparsely populated. Okay. We get earthquakes in that time, in that part of the state. Not like this, but it's an area where the ground does shake. Lots. There are routine warnings, not like this, but of tsunamis. Very rarely does the waves get big and big where they're going to swallow up portions of land off the coast. If you've been listening to KCBS, as I have, to laugh, they would have you believe, with their hysterical coverage, that California is in danger, that we're going to be eaten. It's like that movie, that Tsunami movie, which has nothing, or has not been even remotely involved. Nothing. What I'm trying to say, I'm breaking up a little bit. What I'm trying to say is this coverage is ridiculous. It doesn't warrant what they're doing, even though nobody listens to KCBS who has any iota of wanting credible news coverage between their 50,000 commercials and their traffic and weather together when there's no traffic. And even when there's no weather, it's a joke. This coverage today is, without a doubt, one of the funniest unintentional bits of broadcast. Who the hell is the so-called editors whose job it is to monitor the wires, is to make phone calls and all that. Don't they know they sound like a bunch of fucking idiots? And that's what it is. Fine. It's a big story. The network has covered it a few times, but eventually you make given calls. You understand that the way you're reporting at KCBS is not the seriousness to which you are broadcasting it. I've called a few people today. Again, KCBS. This is not Rich going off to hit his favorite target. You make it, as I have said countless times, you make it easy for me to go after you. I've heard from various people, listeners, people in the middle, people who have no beef with you guys. And they're asking me, what in the hell is KCBS doing? And I agree. I've talked to former KCBS news people with no axe to dry, nothing axe to grind whatsoever. And they can't believe it themselves. What, like there isn't any news to talk about, you know? And I'm not even talking about the guy that got, murdered in New York. That was a New York story, it became a national story. But even that, at least there's news, there are developments, there's things that you could talk about. Like, for example, some of the big heavyweights, CEOs in San Francisco, do they carry about their business with added security or whatever? I'm just using that as an example. But get this, there is hysterical coverage, there is legitimate coverage, there is updates to news that took place earlier today that does not have the seriousness that you are making it be, KCBS. I saw somebody talking about reporting. They were talking about what's going on, and they did like a YouTube or something with their iPhone near Emeryville, near the coast, and it showed the waves. There was no waves. It was the normal. If you didn't know what happened up in extreme Northern California, you would have thought that it's a regular day at the not the beach, but the shoreline. KCBS would have you believe that, again, California was about to be surrounded and overblown by waves from the tsunami, which was a warning. I shudder to think, God forbid, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of things. If we indeed, God forbid, were to have a major earthquake, a terrorist incident, something catastrophic, God forbid, where we relied on proper information. And I know, look, things get fluid, oftentimes without, hesitation. There's a few mistakes and all that. I get all that. Been there, done that. Understood. But we need people who know what the hell is taking place and not overblowing it and saturating coverage on an event that does not cater to the seriousness to which it's being broadcast. If you're driving around the Bay Area, San Jose, what have you, and you hear this hysterical coverage, you would have thought or think present tense that California, the Bay Area, and Sonoma County, even as far north as that, we understand that they had a couple of quakes that took place. One was huge, 7.0, but that was in the water. And as bad as a 7.0 quake is, the area which hit this mighty act of God is very sparsely populated. And even at that, there wasn't much damage. We don't know of we haven't had any reports of cracked streets or, buildings collapsing, that kind of a thing. You get my point. The tsunami, they keep saying this. I even heard one of their reporters, idiotic reporters, talk about the tsunami had this effect. First of all, there was no tsunami. There was a tsunami warning. Okay. And all their own, quote, experts including earthquake experts, Office of Emergency Services, NOAA, the National Oceanic Administration, what have you, the weather people. The weather people themselves indicated that after said events, even with aftershocks, that there wasn't going to be a tsunami. And yet KCBS and their frankly amateur act of anchors, now Patty Rising and Brett Burkhart and whoever they have, Holly Kwan at the so-called Quake desk, can't shut the hell up about the fact the story has passed. The only story now is to talk about what has happened, which is nothing pretty much. Bay Area is fine. Everybody's walking around. In fact, it's a beautiful day outside. But this, it's really, again, these are, and they're, what makes it even worse, they keep putting their traffic, or not their traffic, their breaking news sounder. They keep playing that. Who are these people? What are these, like third graders? Wait a minute. Third graders would have a better sense. Third graders are at school or wherever in Northern California, the Bay Area, even up north, doing their business and laughing and doing what third graders do, and not acting like imbeciles like KCBS. I don't have, folks, for the record, I don't have any kind of, shall we say, glee in kicking KCBS. They kick themselves. They give me ammo, and I talk, and I comment, regrettably, how fucked up they are. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And even when they cover a story that is legit, they can't even cover that. They have completely made themselves look like fools, like idiots, like carnival barkers about this story that had legs about 20 minutes after it happened, it being the earthquake, and then, yes, another earthquake, but that was about it. There was no tsunami. How do I know? Because tsunami people said it was a warning. They completely took it off, lifted it, said there was no danger. Yet KCBS, with their hysterical, unintentionally hilarious third-rate anchors in the morning, one of whom, the guy that talks with rocks in his mouth, who's an occasional sports anchor, overnight traffic guy, and frankly not ready for prime time guy, along with Margie Schaefer, who should know better, who acted like she was in, Glee at her, senior prom, and then the midday circus, and now you have the ensuing PM so-called anchors who should know better, even woeful gee whiz Brett Burkhart and Patty Rising. All we hear about, tsunami, tsunami, tsunami. No, it's not a tsunami. Fuck. It's not a tsunami. We're not being eaten up by waves. The ground is fine. You could even go to the coast, although you'd be a moron. It's like the people that get in a small craft and go out when there's storms and all that shit, and the Coast Guard has to go after them and rescue them because they're idiots, because they didn't see the fact that it's pouring rain and windy, yet they get in their fucking small craft and go out to the ocean so they can grab crab or fish and act like imbeciles. There is no warning. There was no tsunami. KCBS, I would hate to see what it would be like to have these fools broadcast real news. What if, God forbid, as I just said a little while ago, we have some absolute disaster, like an earthquake near our neck of the woods, like something that would center in the middle of San Francisco or parts north, which would affect not just San Francisco, but the Bay Area, the South Bay in general, where we had catastrophe, where we had buildings down and people being evacuated and everything going to hell. And we had to rely on KCBS. God forbid. Think about this. I'm not angry. I'm just in astonishment that this shit continues to take place by so-called experts Check that. They're not experts. They could not do well in any kind of catastrophe. Don't listen to them. Do whatever you have to do. If you're a ham radio guy, or, get your iPhone out and put in, I don't know, whomever has jurisprudence or coverage of the Bay Area. You're not going to get any accurate coverage on KCBS. They simply don't have the manpower. They don't have qualified people. It is frankly irresponsible that they're able to get away with this shit. I continue, call me naive, shake my head, and say to myself, how do they get away with this crap with reporters? Not only don't know the geography, not only don't know, and this is not just the reporters, as I said, anchors, reporters, the people behind the mics who are the so-called at the editor's desk. Wouldn't they be telling Patty or Brett or Margie or Shane Guinness, hey guys, I think we're overdoing this now. I think it's time to kind of move on. That maybe that ship has sailed, so to speak. That indeed there is no catastrophic likeness that is going to hit California. That maybe there was a few things that might seem out of the ordinary, but that by and large this was not and is not, more importantly, the hell that you're making it sound out to be. It's just simply you're not doing your job. Wouldn't somebody with, basic common sense get that? Am I the only one? No, I'm not, because I got other people saying, even if I didn't, I listen to this shit. I put on the various local TV channels too. They got a little bit better grip on this. And yeah, they'll send a reporter later on up to Northern California, and they'll do their, updated work, and they'll talk to the various people who, God forbid, there was an earthquake. But that's it. KCBS, you sent a fucking reporter to Antioch. You took calls from Antioch where they felt it, and you reported on the fact that some moron said that his pool, the waves in his pool, this is in Antioch, not that far. Wait a minute. Antioch is not near the Pacific Ocean, last I checked. Yet you broadcast this guy saying that his pool, there was extra waves in his pool. Not only did you play that, you repeated it. Does that sound fucking imbecilic, or am I just crazy? Tell me. I cannot fathom who these people are. Where do they get these people? Where do they get them? These are the people that think, Wheel of Fortune is a documentary, for God's sakes. These are the people who probably couldn't compete on Jeopardy. These are the people who are frankly morons. I could be worse. I'm trying to be diplomatic. KCBS, speaking of disasters, no, this isn't a warning. This isn't a tsunami. This is a disaster, and KCBS is at the forefront of it. My God.